Commander Jake Morrison stood at the massive viewing window of Nexus Prime, watching the endless stream of alien ships flowing through the station's docking bays. The space station stretched for hundreds of kilometers in every direction, its crystalline towers and metal corridors housing representatives from across the galaxy. Jake had been to many alien worlds, but Nexus Prime always reminded him how young humanity was in the cosmic community. Captain Lisa Hayes walked up beside him, her uniform crisp despite the long journey from the Outer Rim. Her exploration vessel, Aurora, had just returned from a routine survey mission when the summons arrived. Both humans had received the same message, delivered through official Galactic Council channels with the kind of formal language that meant serious trouble. "You think they know about the new colonies?" Lisa asked quietly. She kept her voice low, though the nearest aliens were dozens of meters away. The Zirathi delegation stood like living sculptures of blue crystal, their forms catching and reflecting the station's artificial sunlight. Near them, the insectoid Vrak chittered among themselves in their complex clicking language. Jake shook his head slowly. "They know about more than just the colonies. Our expansion has been faster than any species in recorded history. 67 new settlements in the past 5 years, and that's just what we've reported officially." The massive doors to the council chamber began to open with a deep humming sound. Streams of different aliens filed through the entrance, their various forms creating a strange parade of galactic diversity. The energy beings called Luminari floated past like glowing clouds, while the aquatic Deep Watch representatives moved in mobile water tanks that hovered above the floor. Jake and Lisa followed the crowd into the vast chamber. The room was designed to accommodate hundreds of different species, with sections for atmosphere breathers like humans, pressure chambers for deep water dwellers, and energy containment fields for beings made of pure light. At the center of it all stood the speaker's platform, a raised dais surrounded by translation equipment that could convert thoughts and sounds between thousands of languages. Council Speaker Veltar emerged from the Zirathi section, his crystalline form towering 3 meters above the platform. His body pulsed with inner light as he activated the translation systems. When he spoke, his words reached every being in the chamber through whatever method they used to process language. "We gather today to address a growing concern that threatens the stability our galaxy has enjoyed for millennia. The species known as humanity has expanded beyond all acceptable parameters. In less than 1 standard century since achieving faster-than-light travel, they have claimed territory across 17 sectors and established military presence in regions previously considered neutral space." Jake felt his jaw tighten but kept his expression neutral. Lisa's hand briefly touched his arm, a silent reminder to stay calm. They were here as representatives of Earth, not as individuals, and everything they said or did would be analyzed by dozens of alien intelligence services. Veltar continued his speech, his crystal body shifting colors as his emotions changed. "The human expansion follows patterns we have seen before in species that become threats to galactic peace. They establish colonies in strategic locations, build defensive installations that exceed any reasonable need for protection, and train their population in military tactics that suggest preparation for large-scale conflict." A holographic display materialized above the platform, showing human space in 3 dimensions. Red markers indicated colonies, yellow dots showed trade routes, and blue symbols marked the locations of human military vessels. To Jake, it looked like normal expansion by a growing civilization. To the Alien Council, it apparently looked like preparation for war. In the past year alone, human forces have engaged hostile pirates in 43 separate incidents. While they claim these were defensive actions, our analysis shows that human military responses exceeded necessary force in every case. Where other species would disable or capture pirate vessels, humans consistently destroyed them completely. Lisa shifted beside Jake. She had commanded some of those anti-pirate operations, and Jake knew she was proud of protecting civilian convoys. The fact that the Council saw effective defense as evidence of aggression revealed how different human An alien thinking could be, the VRAC delegate rose from his section, his insectoid form clicking as he moved. The collective has observed human behavior in border regions. They do not negotiate or seek compromise when threatened. They respond with immediate violence and continue fighting until all opposition is eliminated. This is not the behavior of a peaceful species. Jake almost smiled at that. Humans didn't see the point in half measures when lives were at stake. If pirates threatened civilian ships, the logical response was to make sure those pirates could never threaten anyone again. Apparently, this practical approach to problem-solving was being interpreted as bloodthirsty aggression. Veltar raised one crystalline arm, calling for silence. We have reached a decision regarding the human expansion. Effective immediately, humanity will submit to Galactic Council oversight. All human military operations must be approved by Council representatives. All new colonies must be established only in sectors designated by the Council. All human vessels operating outside your core systems must carry Council observers. The chamber fell silent except for the humming of translation equipment. Jake felt the weight of hundreds of alien eyes focusing on him and Lisa. This wasn't a request or a suggestion. It was an ultimatum disguised as a legal decision. Furthermore, Veltar continued, humanity has 72 standard hours to acknowledge these restrictions and begin compliance. Failure to accept Council oversight will result in immediate economic sanctions and restriction of human vessels to your home system. Jake stepped forward, his movement causing ripples of attention throughout the chamber. Speaker Veltar, humanity has operated within all established galactic laws. Our expansion has been peaceful, our defensive actions have been proportional to threats encountered, and our trade relationships have benefited numerous species. On what legal authority does the Council claim jurisdiction over human internal affairs? The crystal being's form pulsed with deep blue light, indicating either amusement or irritation. Authority, Commander Morrison, derives from the consensus of civilized species. Your people represent less than 1% of galactic population, yet consume resources and claim territory as if you were a major power. This imbalance threatens the careful stability we have maintained for thousands of years. Lisa spoke up, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. With respect, Speaker, human colonies have increased trade volume in every sector where we've established settlements. Our defensive actions have reduced piracy along major shipping routes. Our exploration teams have discovered new worlds that we've shared freely with other species. How exactly does this threaten galactic stability? A new voice joined the conversation, this one coming from the Luminari section where energy beings floated in contained fields. Captain Hayes, your species possesses a fundamental misunderstanding of galactic civilization. Peace requires careful, balanced, negotiated compromise and acceptance of established boundaries. Humans seem incapable of these concepts. Jake looked around the chamber, seeing the same expression on dozens of different alien faces, fear. They weren't angry at humanity's expansion or military effectiveness. They were afraid of it. These species had spent millennia creating a stable, predictable galaxy where conflicts were rare and changes came slowly. Humanity's rapid growth and direct approach to problem-solving threatened everything they had built. 72 hours, Veltar repeated. Council representatives will be dispatched to all human worlds to begin the transition to oversight governance. We trust humanity will make the wise choice. The session ended with formal dismissal procedures, but Jake barely noticed the ritualistic closing ceremonies. As the chamber emptied, he and Lisa made their way toward the docking bays where their ships waited. Neither spoke until they were alone in a maintenance corridor that Jake's security training told him was free of surveillance equipment. They're scared, Lisa said simply. Jake nodded. Scared enough to make demands they know we can't accept. No human government will agree to alien oversight of our colonies. So what happens in 72 hours? Jake thought about Admiral Ben Carter's message, transmitted through encrypted channels just before the council session. The Defiant and 12 other human warships were positioned throughout the system, officially conducting routine training. exercises. Unofficially, they were making sure Jake and Lisa had a way home if the negotiations went badly. In 72 hours, Jake said quietly, they're going to discover that humans don't respond well to ultimatums. As they walked toward their ships, neither human noticed the small probe that had been following them since they left the council chamber. In a secure section of the station, alien intelligence analysts were already reviewing the recorded conversation and preparing reports for their respective governments. The consensus was clear. Humanity's representatives showed no sign of accepting council authority. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone tried to cage an apex predator. Dr. Alex Turner carefully lifted the alien artifact from its protective containment field, his hands trembling slightly as he felt the strange warmth radiating from its surface. The object was roughly the size of a human head made from some kind of metal that seemed to shift colors depending on the angle of view. Captain Lisa Hayes had found it buried in the ruins of an ancient city on Kepler 442b, and something about it had made her entire crew nervous. The dating is impossible, Alex muttered to his research assistant, Dr. Sarah Kim, who was monitoring the lab's sensor equipment. Carbon dating suggests it's at least 2 million years old, but the metal composition includes elements that shouldn't exist naturally. It's like someone built this using technology we can't even understand. Sarah frowned at her readings. The electromagnetic signatures are getting stronger. Whatever this thing is, it's definitely reacting to human proximity. None of the alien? Researchers who examined it reported any kind of response. Alex nodded absently, his attention focused entirely on the artifact. Strange symbols covered its surface, shifting and changing as he watched. They almost looked familiar, like letters from an alphabet he had seen in dreams but couldn't quite remember. Without thinking, he reached out and pressed his palm against the largest symbol. The world exploded into light and sound and impossible visions that filled his mind with information no human brain should be able to process. Alex saw the rise and fall of civilizations across millions of years, watched stars being born and dying, felt the pulse of life spreading across the galaxy in waves of exploration and discovery. But underneath it all was a voice, ancient and tired but unmistakably human. Finally, the voice said inside his head. We had begun to think our children would never be ready. Alex tried to pull his hand away from the artifact, but found he couldn't. Move, the voice continued, and with it came images that made him understand things he had never questioned before. Humanity's rapid technological development, their natural ability to adapt to any environment, their instinctive understanding of warfare and strategy, all of it suddenly made sense. We are the Primarchs, the voice explained. The first species to achieve faster-than-light travel, the first to map the galaxy, the first to understand what waits beyond the edge of known space. We seeded dozens of worlds with our genetic heritage before the great catastrophe forced us to abandon our physical forms. The images showed massive ships carrying Primarch colonists to distant worlds, including a small blue planet in what would later be called the Sol System. Earth wasn't humanity's birth world, Alex realized with shock. It was just one of many worlds where the Primarchs had planted the seeds of their civilization. You are our legacy, the voice continued. Bred for survival, adapted for war, designed to face threats that other species cannot comprehend. The galaxy's current inhabitants are our adopted children, species we guided and protected as they developed. But they have grown soft in the safety we provided. More images flooded Alex's mind, showing something that made his blood freeze. Massive ships, if they could even be called ships, moved through the dark space between galaxies. They were organic and mechanical at the same time, consuming entire star systems and leaving nothing but empty void behind. The Devourers had found the galaxy. They consume not just planets or stars, but the very fabric of space itself, the voice explained. They turn matter into energy and energy into nothing. We fought them once before, at the cost of our civilization. Now they return, and only our children possess the genetic heritage necessary to activate the weapons we left behind. Alex finally managed to break contact with the artifact, stumbling backward as the visions faded. Sarah caught him as he nearly fell, her face pale with concern. The artifact had gone dormant again, but Alex could still feel its presence in his mind like an echo that wouldn't fade. What happened? Sarah asked. You were touching that thing for almost 20 minutes. I tried to pull you away, but it was like you were frozen in place. Alex looked at his hands, which were still tingling with residual energy from the artifact. 20 minutes of contact had felt like hours of revelation. He now understood why. The Galactic Council was so afraid of humanity's expansion. They could sense, on some instinctive level, that humans were different from them in fundamental ways. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Patricia Stone stood in the command center buried deep beneath the Colorado Mountains, watching status reports flow in from human colonies across the galaxy. The 72-hour deadline was approaching, and every human settlement was quietly preparing for what seemed like inevitable conflict. How many ships can we field if this goes badly? She asked Colonel Ryan Blake, who was coordinating defensive preparations across multiple star systems. Ryan consulted his tactical display, where blue dots represented human vessels and red zones marked areas where alien fleets were gathering. We have 347 military vessels of various classes, plus about 800 civilian ships that could be armed if necessary. The problem isn't numbers, it's positioning. Our forces are spread across 17 sectors, while theirs are concentrated around major population centers. Patricia nodded grimly. She had been expecting this confrontation for years, ever since humanity's first contact with galactic civilization. The other species claimed they wanted peace and cooperation, but their definition of peace seemed to require human submission to alien authority. What about the Black Projects? She asked quietly. Ryan's expression became carefully neutral. The Terran defense grid is fully operational. All orbital platforms are online and concealed. The automated manufacturing facilities are producing weapon systems at maximum capacity. If we activate everything, we can probably surprise them for the first few hours of any conflict. Patricia had helped design the defense grid during her early career, back when Earth's government had realized that joining galactic civilization might not guarantee human safety. Hidden weapon platforms surrounded Earth, disguised as research stations or commercial facilities. Automated factories on the Moon and in the asteroid belt could produce warships faster than any alien intelligence service suspected. The most important part of the defense grid, however, was the human population itself. Every colony included mandatory military training for all adult civilians. Every human ship, from massive cargo haulers to personal shuttles, had been designed with hidden weapon mounts and armor plating. The galaxy saw human expansion as aggressive, because they didn't understand that humans were simply doing what came naturally, preparing for any possible threat. General, Ryan said carefully, there's something else you should know. We've been monitoring alien communication networks, and there's something strange about this coordinated response to our expansion. The timing is too perfect. The cooperation between species that normally barely tolerate each other is too smooth. It's like someone is orchestrating this whole situation, Patricia frowned. You think someone is manipulating the other species into confronting us? I think someone wants to eliminate humanity before we become too powerful to stop. The question is, who benefits from a war between humans and the rest of the galaxy? On the mining world of New Denver, Foreman Joe Sullivan was having similar thoughts as he watched Vrak warships taking position near the edge of the system. The insectoid aliens claimed they were conducting routine patrol operations, but Joe had served in Earth's military before becoming a miner. He knew what a blockade formation looked like. How many of our people have military training? He asked his assistant supervisor, Mike Chun, who was helping coordinate the evacuation of non-essential personnel. About 60% of the adult population, Mike replied. Most of the mining equipment can be converted to defensive purposes if we need it. Those asteroid processors pack enough punch to damage a warship, and the cargo haulers have enough armor to serve as mobile weapons platforms. Joe nodded approvingly. New Denver was primarily a mining operation, but like all human colonies, it had been established with defense in mind. The massive mining lasers could be retargeted to attack ships instead of asteroids. The cargo bays could be filled with improvised missiles. Even the civilian population had been trained in basic combat techniques and emergency procedures. Dodd's reports came in from across human space. A pattern became clear. Every human world was preparing for siege. Every human ship was moving to defensive positions, and every human civilian was ready to fight if necessary. The galaxy's other species had made the mistake of thinking that humanity's military forces were limited to their official navy and army. They were about to discover that when humans felt threatened, every single one of them became a potential soldier. Dr. Alex Turner finally managed to contact Earth Command, his mind still reeling from the revelations contained in the Primarch artifact. The information he had received would change everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. More importantly, it would give them the tools they needed to survive what was coming. "General Stone," he said when the secure communication link was established, "I need to speak with you immediately. I've discovered something about humanity's origins that explains why the other species are so afraid of us. And I think I know what's really behind this coordinated attempt." The 72-hour deadline expired at exactly 14:30 Galactic Standard Time, and the attack began 3 minutes later. Joe Sullivan was checking the modification work on Mining Platform 7 when the first Vrachive ships dropped out of hyperspace above New Denver. The massive insectoid vessels looked like floating cities, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that indicated battle readiness. "All civilian personnel to emergency shelters," Joe announced over the colony's communication system, his voice calm despite the adrenaline flooding his system. "All trained personnel to defensive positions. This is not a drill." The response was immediate and coordinated. New Denver's 23,000 colonists moved with the efficiency of a military unit, which made sense since most of them had military training before becoming miners. Children and elderly citizens disappeared into reinforced underground bunkers while adults took control of the mining equipment that had been secretly modified for combat. Joe climbed into the control cabin of the massive asteroid processor that his team had spent the past 3 days converting into a weapons platform. The machine was originally designed to break apart kilometer-wide asteroids using focused energy beams, but with some creative engineering it could punch holes through warship hulls just as effectively. "Platform 7 ready for combat," he reported to the colony's command center. Around him, dozens of similar weapons were coming online as miners transformed their industrial equipment into instruments of war. The Vrak apparently expected the humans to surrender immediately when faced with overwhelming force. Their hive ships moved into low orbit without deploying defensive screens or taking evasive action. They broadcast surrender demands in broken human languages, giving the colonists exactly 10 minutes to lay down their weapons and submit to occupation. Joe's response came in the form of a concentrated energy beam that carved through the lead hive ship's hull like a hot knife through butter. The alien vessel's organic armor, designed to resist conventional ship-based weapons, simply vaporized under the focus power of an industrial asteroid processor. "Target destroyed," Joe announced with satisfaction. Moving to secondary target. Across New Denver's orbital space, the pattern repeated as mining equipment revealed its deadly potential. Cargo haulers launched improvised missiles created from mining charges and guidance systems stripped from surveyor drones. Orbital refineries deployed defensive barriers made from processed metal and began firing streams of molten ore at approaching Vrak fighters. The insectoid aliens had expected to face a lightly defended mining colony. Instead, they found themselves fighting what appeared to be a fortress world defended by weapons they had never encountered before. The Vrachive mind struggled to adapt to human tactics that seemed to follow no logical pattern. Captain Lisa Hayes was dealing with her own crisis above the agricultural world of Haven. 3 Zerithi crystal dreadnoughts had emerged from hyperspace near the planet's main shipping routes, their crystalline hulls gleaming with internal energy as they charged their primary weapon systems. "All civilian transports to safe distance," Lisa ordered from the bridge of her exploration vessel, Aurora. Military vessels, form up on my position. The problem was that Haven's defenses consisted of Lisa's ship, 2 patrol boats, and a handful of armed cargo vessels. Against 3 Zirathi dreadnoughts, each one capable of destroying planets, the odds seemed impossible, but Lisa had spent years exploring dangerous regions of space, and she had learned to see opportunities where others saw only problems. Haven was an agricultural world with a sophisticated weather control system designed to optimize crop yields across multiple climate zones. Those same systems could be used to create environmental hazards that would level the playing field. "Danny, take us down to atmospheric entry level," she told her pilot, Danny Foster. "Kate, I need you to interface with the planetary weather. Grid, can you create an electromagnetic storm in the upper atmosphere?" Engineer Kate Morgan's fingers flew across her control panel as she accessed Haven's environmental systems. "I can generate a Class 5 electromagnetic event, but it'll knock out most electronic systems on this side of the planet." "Do it," Lisa ordered, "and broadcast a warning to all human vessels to switch to hardened backup systems." The Zirathi dreadnoughts were descending toward Haven's surface when the artificial storm struck. Massive lightning bolts, each one carrying the power of a small nuclear weapon, erupted across the upper atmosphere. The crystalline aliens' sophisticated targeting systems, dependent on quantum resonance calculations, became useless in the electromagnetic chaos. Lisa's ship, protected by military-grade shielding and backup systems, dove through the storm like a predator stalking confused prey. The Aurora's weapons, designed for exploration and self-defense, shouldn't have been able to damage a Zirathi dreadnought. But when Kate Morgan rerouted power from the ship's mining lasers and geological survey equipment, the combined beam punched through the enemy's crystalline armor with devastating effect. "Target 1 disabled," Ganny reported as the lead dreadnought tumbled toward Haven's atmosphere. "Its control systems fried by electromagnetic interference. Target 2 is trying to climb above the storm." "Then we follow it up," Lisa said grimly. "Kate, can you extend the storm pattern?" "Already on it," Kate replied. "I'm using the planet's magnetic field as an amplifier. This storm is going to be visible from 3 star systems away." On Earth, Admiral Ben Carter watched the tactical displays with growing amazement as reports came in from across human space. Every alien attack was meeting unexpectedly fierce resistance, and in several cases, the attackers were being completely destroyed by defenders who shouldn't have had the firepower to resist. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving surrender requests from the Luminari task force that attacked Luna Base. Their energy manipulation abilities are apparently useless against our orbital defense platforms." Ben nodded absently, his attention focused on the larger strategic picture. The Galactic Council had committed over 2,000 warships to what they expected would be a quick disciplinary action against human colonies. Instead, they were taking catastrophic losses while inflicting minimal damage on their targets. "What's our status on the Terran defense grid?" he asked his tactical officer. "All platforms are operational and still concealed. The enemy hasn't realized that our research stations and commercial facilities are actually weapons platforms. They're treating them as non-combatants," Ben smiled grimly. The grid represented decades of careful planning and construction. Every orbital facility around Earth, from space elevators to asteroid mining operations, had been designed with hidden military capabilities. Solar power collectors could be converted into energy weapons, communication satellites could deploy, missile systems and civilian space stations could transform into fortress command centers. "Signal all platforms to begin revealing their true nature," Ben ordered. "Let's show our visitors what human engineering can really accomplish." Across Earth's orbital space, dozens of apparently civilian installations suddenly bristled with weapons and defensive systems. Manufacturing platforms that had been producing consumer goods for decades deployed missile batteries and particle beam weapons. Research stations activated defense screens and began coordinating fire control for the entire system. The Luminari energy beings, who had been confident in their ability to disable human technology using electromagnetic pulse attacks, discovered That human equipment was far more resilient than they had expected. Worse, the orbital platforms seemed to be absorbing their energy attacks and redirecting them back at the attackers. How is this possible? The Luminari fleet commander pulsed. In frequencies that translated as confusion and growing fear. Their technology should not be able to process pure energy manipulation. The answer came from Dr. Alex Turner, who was still connected to the Primarch artifact in his laboratory. The ancient device had been feeding him information about human technology development, showing him how Primarch genetic memories had unconsciously influenced human engineering choices. Admiral Carter, Alex reported over the secure communication channel, the Primarchs designed our ancestors to develop technology that could counter every major alien capability. Our electromagnetic shielding works against Luminari energy attacks, because we inherited genetic knowledge of how to build it. Our metallurgy can resist Zerathi crystal weapons because we have instinctive understanding of molecular structures. Everything we've built has been influenced by genetic memories we didn't even know we possessed. The revelation explained why. Human technology had developed so quickly after first contact with galactic civilization. Exposure to alien science had triggered dormant genetic programming, causing human engineers to unconsciously design systems that could counter potential threats. Meanwhile, on the industrial world of New Berlin, factory worker Karl Jensen was coordinating the transformation of civilian manufacturing into military production. The planet's automated factories, originally designed to produce consumer goods and construction materials, were retooling themselves to build weapons and defensive systems. We can produce 50 autonomous defense drones per hour, Carl reported to the Planetary Defense Coordinator. The civilian. News of the failed first assault spread across the galaxy like wildfire, and the response was swift and massive. The Silicon-based Construct Empire committed their entire battle fleet to the anti-human coalition, their geometric warships bristling with quantum weapons designed to disrupt molecular bonds. The Aquatic Deepwatch Alliance emerged from the ocean worlds of the galactic rim, bringing ships that could fight equally well in space or underwater environments. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his destroyer Valor, watching the tactical display that showed enemy fleet movements across 17 star systems. Red markers indicated hostile forces, and there were far too many of them. The alien coalition now numbered over 5,000 warships, representing the largest military force in recorded galactic history. They're not just trying to suppress us anymore, Jake told his tactical officer, Lieutenant Mark Davis. This is a full extermination campaign. Mark nodded grimly as he updated the fleet positions on the display. Intelligence estimates they've committed 90% of their combined military forces to this operation. If we can defeat this fleet, most of these species won't have enough ships left to threaten anyone for decades. That was the challenge Jake faced. Human forces were outnumbered 15 to 1, but they had advantages the aliens didn't understand. Dr. Alex Turner's research into the Primarch artifact had revealed crucial information about the true nature of the galactic threat, and Jake was one of the few people who knew the complete truth. The aliens weren't acting entirely on their own initiative. Subtle influences had been guiding their decision-making for months, pushing them toward this confrontation. The real enemy wanted humanity eliminated before they could discover their true heritage and activate the ancient Primarch defense systems scattered throughout the galaxy. "Sir," the communications officer reported, "we're receiving transmission from Dr. Turner on Earth. He says he's found evidence of Devourer infiltration in the alien communication networks." Jake activated the secure channel, and Alex Turner's voice filled the bridge. The scientist sounded exhausted but excited, like someone who had been working without sleep for days while making incredible discoveries. "Commander Morrison, I've been analyzing intercepted alien communications using information from the Primarch artifact. The coordination between species that normally hate each other isn't natural. Someone has been manipulating their decision-making processes, probably for years." "Can you prove it?" Jake asked. "Better than that, I can show you where the manipulation is coming from." The Devourers have advanced scouts already in the galaxy, hidden in dark space between the spiral arms. They've been influencing galactic politics to prevent any species from becoming powerful enough to threaten them. The revelation made everything clear. The Galactic Council's sudden fear of human expansion, the perfect timing of the coordinated attack, the willingness of traditional enemies to work together against humanity, all of it had been orchestrated by an outside force. "How long before the main Devourer force arrives?" Jake asked. "Based on the artifact's projections, less than 6 months. But here's the important part. The ancient Primarch weapon systems are still functional, hidden in dead star systems throughout the galaxy. The problem is that only humans can activate them, and only if we can reach them before the Devourers arrive." Jake studied the tactical display, seeing the situation in a new light. The alien fleets weren't just threatening human colonies. They were preventing humanity from accessing the weapons needed to defend the entire galaxy. Every day spent fighting. This war was a day closer to total galactic annihilation. "We need to capture an alien command ship," Jake decided. "If we can access their communication networks, we can broadcast the truth about Devourer infiltration to the entire galaxy." Lieutenant Mark Davis looked skeptical. "Sir, their command ships are the most heavily defended vessels in their fleets. A direct assault would be suicide," Jake smiled grimly. "Then it's a good thing humans don't believe in direct assaults when indirect ones work better." 3 hours later, Jake's strike force was moving through the Kepler Nebula toward Azirathi, command ship that had separated from the main fleet to coordinate attacks on human shipping routes. The nebula's electromagnetic interference made conventional sensors useless, but human ships had been designed with backup navigation systems that worked perfectly in such conditions. Captain Steve Brooks commanded the light cruiser Horizon, using the ship's advanced stealth systems to approach the alien vessel undetected. Captain Amy Wallace's destroyer Fury moved to block the enemy's escape route, while Jake's Valor prepared to disable the command ship's communication systems. "Remember, we need that ship intact," Jake broadcast to his squadron. "Our goal is capture, not destruction." The attack began when Steve Brooks launched a spread of electromagnetic pulse missiles that temporarily disabled the Azirathi ship's defensive screens. Amy Wallace's Fury emerged from the nebula's concealment to engage the escort vessels, her weapons creating brilliant flashes of light in the cosmic dust. Jake brought the Valor alongside the alien command ship, using magnetic clamps to lock the two vessels together. Marine boarding teams, led by Sergeant Bill Turner, cut through the crystalline hull using plasma torches designed for asteroid mining. The Azirathi crew, evolved for ship-to-ship combat, were helpless against human boarding tactics. "Command ship secured," Sergeant Turner reported 20 minutes later. "We've captured their communication array and data storage systems." The crew surrendered when they realized we weren't going to kill them. Jake smiled at that detail. Humans had a reputation for ruthless efficiency in combat, but they also followed rules of war that many alien species found confusing. The Azirathi had expected to fight to the death. Instead, they found themselves treated as prisoners of war and given medical attention for their injuries. The captured data was more valuable than Jake had hoped. The Azirathi command ship's computers contained communication records spanning months, showing clearly how external influences had gradually pushed the major powers toward war with humanity. More importantly, it included the locations of Devourer scout ships hidden throughout the galaxy. "This is incredible," Alex Turner said when the data reached Earth. "The Devourers have been operating in our galaxy for decades, possibly centuries. They've been systematically weakening potential opposition by encouraging conflicts between major powers." General Patricia Stone studied the intelligence reports from her command center beneath Colorado's mountains. The data showed a disturbing pattern of manipulation stretching back to first contact between humans and galactic civilization. Every major war, every trade dispute, every diplomatic crisis had been subtly influenced by Devourer agents working to keep the galaxy's species from uniting against a common threat. "How many other species are under direct influence?" she asked Alex, Unknown, but the pattern suggests it's widespread. The good news is that we now have proof. If we can broadcast this information to the entire galaxy, we might be able to break the Devour influence and turn our enemies into allies. Colonel Ryan Blake was coordinating a different aspect of the war effort from his base on Luna. His special forces teams had been infiltrating alien fleet positions for days, gathering intelligence and preparing for coordinated strikes against Devourer scout ships. "We've identified 12 Devourer vessels in dark space," Ryan reported to General Stone. "They're using some kind of cloaking technology that makes them nearly invisible, but the Primarch artifact has given us the sensor frequencies needed to detect them." The plan that emerged was audacious even by human standards. While Jake Morrison's forces continued to engage the alien fleets in conventional combat, Ryan Blake's teams would launch simultaneous attacks on every known Devourer scout ship. The goal was to eliminate the source of alien manipulation while broadcasting proof of the conspiracy to every species in the galaxy. On New Berlin, Karl Jensen was dealing with a more immediate problem. Construct Empire ships had begun bombarding the planet's industrial centers, trying to eliminate human manufacturing capabilities before they could produce more weapons. The geometric alien vessels used quantum disruptors that could unmake matter at the molecular level, turning solid metal into component atoms. "We're losing Factory Complex 7, Carl reported to the Planetary Defense Coordinator. "The quantum weapons are breaking down our defensive barriers faster than we can repair." But Carl had been studying the captured Zerathi data, and he had noticed something interesting about construct technology. Their quantum disruptors worked by destabilizing molecular bonds, but they required precise targeting to be effective. If the targets were moving fast enough, the weapons became useless. "All manufacturing complexes begin evasive maneuvers," Carl ordered. "Activate the mobility systems." The construct fleet commanders watched in amazement as human factories suddenly lifted off from the planet's surface and began moving in unpredictable patterns. The industrial complexes had been built with hidden repulsors and thruster systems, allowing them to relocate when threatened. What had appeared to be stationary targets became a swarm of mobile manufacturing platforms that the quantum weapons couldn't track effectively. Carl's innovation spread quickly to other human worlds. Civilian. The broadcast of the Devourer conspiracy evidence sent shockwaves across the galaxy within hours. On Zerathi homeworld, Council Speaker Veltar stared at the communication displays, showing undeniable proof that his species' decision-making had been influenced by external forces for decades. The crystalline being's form pulsed with colors that indicated confusion and growing horror as he realized how thoroughly his people had been manipulated. Captain Lisa Hayes watched from the bridge of her ship, Aurora, as the enemy fleets began to falter in their attacks. Vrakhive ships that had been pressing their assault on human colonies suddenly broke off and began attacking each other as the insectoid collective mind fractured under the revelation that they had been deceived. Luminary energy beings flickered with patterns that their translators identified as intense shame and rage. "All alien vessels, this is Captain Hayes of the human vessel Aurora," Lisa broadcast on all frequencies. "We know you were not acting under your own free will. The real enemy is still out there, and we need to work together to stop them before they destroy everything we've built." The response was immediate but chaotic. Some alien commanders ordered their fleets to cease hostilities and return home. Others demanded more proof of the conspiracy. A few refused to believe the evidence and continued their attacks on human positions. But the coordinated assault that had threatened to overwhelm human defenses was breaking apart as individual species began to question their own motivations. Dr. Alex Turner stood in his laboratory on Earth, his hands still connected to the Primarch. Artifact as information flowed through his consciousness. The ancient device was showing him the locations of weapon systems hidden throughout the galaxy. Massive installations built millions of years ago and left dormant until the descendants of the Primarchs could activate them. "Admiral Carter," Alex reported through the communication link, "I've found them. 37 weapon platforms hidden in dead star systems across the galaxy. Each one is powerful enough to destroy an entire Devourer fleet, but they need human genetic codes to activate. Admiral Ben Carter studied the coordinates that Alex was transmitting from the artifact. The weapons were scattered across thousands of light years, positioned to create overlapping fields of fire that could protect every inhabited system in the galaxy. The Primarchs had planned for this moment, but their plan required humans to be free to travel to each installation. "How long do we have before the main Devourer force arrives?" Ben asked. "Less than 72 hours, Alex replied grimly. "The scout ships have been sending regular reports to the main fleet. When those reports stop coming, the Devourers will know their infiltration has been discovered and accelerate their invasion timeline." Colonel Ryan Blake was already leading the hunt for the Devourer scout ships, his special forces teams moving through dark space toward targets that were nearly invisible even with Primarch sensor technology. The enemy vessels were unlike anything in the galactic databases, organic and mechanical at the same time, seeming to absorb light and energy rather than reflecting it. "Target 1 located," Ryan reported from his stealth ship. "It's bigger than our intelligence suggested, roughly. The size of a battle cruiser, but with technology that doesn't match anything we've encountered." The Devourer scout ship hung in the void between star systems like a cancer in space, its surface shifting and flowing as if it were alive. Strange energies pulsed through its hull, and Ryan's sensors detected matter conversion processes that seemed to violate several laws of physics. "All teams, remember that these things can absorb conventional weapons fire," Ryan warned his strike force. "We need to use the specialized ordnance that Dr. Turner designed based on Primarch technology." The attack came from 12 directions simultaneously as Ryan's teams emerged from stealth and launched their assault. The weapons they carried were based on Primarch science, designed specifically to disrupt the exotic matter that Devourer ships used for both structure and propulsion. Instead of trying to destroy the enemy vessel through brute force, the human weapons unmade the fundamental bonds that held it together. The Devourer scout ship tried to defend itself, launching streams of energy that could have vaporized conventional warships. But human vessels were equipped with the electromagnetic shielding that their ancestors had unconsciously developed specifically to counter such attacks. The alien beams were absorbed and redirected harmlessly into space. "Target 1 destroyed," Ryan reported with satisfaction, moving to Target 2. Similar battles were taking place across the galaxy as human strike teams hunted down the remaining Devourer scouts. Each enemy ship fought with desperate fury when cornered, but they had been designed to operate through stealth and manipulation rather than direct combat. Against human forces that knew where to find them and how to fight them, the scouts were OUTMATCHED. Commander Jake Morrison was leading a different mission, racing toward the nearest Primarch weapon platform with a small fleet of human ships. The installation was hidden in the ruins of a star system that had been consumed by its own sun billions of years ago, protected by automated defenses that had waited patiently for the return of their creator's descendants. Approaching the installation now, Jake reported as his ship Valor entered the debris field that had once been a planetary system. "I'm reading massive energy signatures from what looks like an artificial structure built into an asteroid." The Primarch weapon platform was larger than most space stations, its crystalline surfaces glowing with internal power as it detected Jake's approach. Ancient systems came online after millions of years of dormancy, scanning the human ships and confirming that their crews carried the correct genetic markers. "Welcome, children of the Primarchs," a voice said directly into Jake's mind, speaking in perfect human language despite its obvious age. "We have waited long for your return. The Devourers approach, and only you can activate the defenses we prepared." Jake felt a strange sensation as the installation systems interfaced with his nervous system, downloading tactical information and operational procedures directly into his consciousness. He suddenly understood exactly how the weapon worked and what it was capable of doing. The Primarch platform was essentially a star killer, capable of destabilizing stellar cores and turning entire star systems into massive energy weapons. When networked with the other installations scattered across the galaxy, They could create a defensive grid that would make it impossible for the Devourers to establish footholds in normal space. Weapon platform activated, Jake announced as the installation's power systems reached full capacity. Coordinates locked for all 36 remaining platforms. We can activate them remotely once the network is established. Similar reports were coming in from human teams across the galaxy as they reached other Primarch installations. Captain Steve Brooks successfully activated a platform in the Vega system. Captain Amy Wallace brought another online near the Galactic Rim. One by one, the ancient weapons awakened from their long sleep. General Patricia Stone coordinated the global effort from her command center, watching as tactical displays showed both human and alien fleet movements across dozens of star systems. The alien coalition was fragmenting as individual species realized they had been manipulated. But there wasn't much time to establish new alliances before the main threat arrived. "We're detecting massive spatial distortions at the edge of the galaxy," her sensors officer reported. "Something big is coming through from intergalactic space?" The main Devourer fleet was arriving ahead of schedule, massive vessels that seemed to bend space around them as they entered the galaxy's outer regions. There were hundreds of them, each one larger than the biggest space stations, their hulls pulsing with the same matter conversion technology that had made the scout ship so dangerous. "All Primarch platforms report ready for coordinated firing," Jake Morrison announced from his position at the first installation. "We have a clear shot at the entire enemy fleet if we act now." Ben Carter made the decision that would determine the fate of every living thing in the galaxy. "All platforms, this is Admiral Carter. You are authorized to fire when ready." The Primarch weapon network activated with a brilliance that was visible from neighboring galaxies. 37 ancient installations fired simultaneously, their combined energy output exceeding that of most stellar phenomena. The beams converged on the Devourer fleet like the fingers of an impossibly large hand, each one carrying enough power to crack planets. The enemy ships tried to absorb the incoming energy using their matter conversion technology, but the Primarch weapons had been designed specifically to overwhelm such defenses. The Devourers found themselves facing the accumulated scientific knowledge of their ancient enemies, refined over millions of years and delivered with precision that left no room for escape. One by one, the massive alien vessels simply ceased to exist, their exotic matter returning to component atoms as the Primarch weapons disrupted the fundamental forces that held them together. The invasion fleet that had threatened to consume the entire galaxy was eliminated in less than 10 minutes of coordinated firing. Dr. Alex Turner felt the Primarch artifact going dormant in his hands as its purpose was finally fulfilled. The ancient consciousness that had guided humanity through